Now we're going to take a look at the Modify Report feature in RadioWorks. This applies to several printed items, but one that you'll want to get on pretty quickly is the invoice, since that goes out from you to your customers. So here we're looking at a contract, and we have billing segments right here, and it's marked billing by contract, and it also has some spots that are scheduled. And all of this information will be incorporated into the invoice. If you have invoice by cart or by cert, which is either one of these, the monthly or the standard broadcast, that is a separate invoice, but the principles that we're going to deal with today are the same. So I'm going to click on Print, and this gives me a choice of several items. And I'm going to pick Invoice, then I'll go to Modify Report, and since there are a number of invoices, and whatever I do with one will apply to all the others, I'm going to click on that, and then I click Continue. Now it opens up the Report Designer and shows me the invoice with all of the fields ready to take data, as well as all the labels. Now, anytime you want to see what the invoice is going to look like when you print it, you can do a right click on a blank area, choose Preview, and there it shows you the actual printed invoice. So as you go through the modification steps, you can continually take a look at how it's going to appear. And if you don't like it, then fix it. To get back to where we were, you go up to this toolbar here and click Close Preview. Now, when you open this up, you're going to see a toolbar over here, and I'm going to unclick this Report Controls toolbar, but that's the button you'll need, the hammer and the wrench. When you click it, somewhere on the screen will appear a toolbar that looks like this. And those are the various controls that you will need in order to do the modification to your invoice. So let's take a tour of that toolbar. First of all, anytime you need to get your pointer back to select objects, for example, if I want to select right here, KHCI radio, I just click on it. Now if I hit the delete key, it'll go away. And you can really click any area and unselect things. The next thing is A, and that gives you a text insertion tool. So if I click on that, now I'm ready to insert text. And so I click there, and I can simply insert the text. I can click outside that area, and now that is released. I'm back to the pointer mode, as you see, and I can click on it. That's selected. I can move it around. Anytime you have items selected, you can move them around, or I can delete them, which is what I'm going to do by hitting the delete key. The next little button is a field button, and that's going to take some level of knowledge beyond the usual user of RadioWorks at the station level, because this means you're going to draw a field like us up here. It says SP name, and that stands for salesperson name. But how would you know that? Well, you really wouldn't. So you would have to have all of these little labels available to you if you were going to put a field in there that would draw data in. This is a line tool, and if you click on it, it will draw a line either horizontally or vertically. And when you have the line, then it's got little handles on each end, and you can then move it wherever you want it to go, make it shorter, make it longer, like that. And once again, you can delete it. Another way to delete is simply use the well, usually use the sometimes it's tricky getting that selected. delete key, and away it goes. Next we have the drawing of a rectangle, should you want to do that. And there's the rectangle. I'll delete that, or if you want a rounded rectangle, and there's that. Then we have object embedding, linking and embedding, OLE, object linking and embedding. Now to demonstrate this, perhaps you want to put a logo, let's say in the upper left corner, instead of KHCI radio. Now I don't really have a logo for that, but first I'm going to click on it, press the delete key. Got to make some room for it. Then I click over here on this text box and I drag that over here to make room. Right about there should be good. Now you need to have a graphic stored in, and the best place is in the RPTS folder in your DBFS folder. So I've already done that, just going to use the RadioWorks logo that you're quite familiar with. And the first thing I do is click on the OLE button, and when I do that, it allows me to draw a place where the logo is going to go. So I choose that place right there. Now when I release the mouse button, a window pops up, and it wants to know where is this graphic file that I'm going to get to insert into the invoice. So it's already got files selected, so all I have to do is come over here and click on this button and go find it. Now it opens up the RPTS folder in your RW folder, and I've already put in this logo. It's a BMP, and it will use various kinds like GIF or JPEG, those kinds of pretty typical files. So I select that, then I click OK. And now it has the path name to pull in that logo. Now, if picture and frame are different sizes, then what do you want to do? Do you want to clip the picture? That's usually unsatisfactory. Part of your logo is going to be missing. And the second one, scale picture, retain the shape. So our logo is a circle, and I want to retain the circle. Now the third choice is to scale the picture to fill the frame, and that's assuming that the frame I drew when filled is going to look correct. So I always pick scale the picture, retain the shape so that it stays exactly the way you're familiar with. And the other items you don't need to really worry about. So you just click on OK, and there it is. Now once it's there, you can still maneuver it a little bit. For example, if I think it looks a little too flat, I can push it in a little, and that will make it smaller or larger. And if I ever want to make some changes, I can go back here and get this screen and even put in a different logo. Okay, so we've got that taken care of. We've already seen how to insert text, and that means if you want to change these labels for these areas, you can do so. But now maybe it's time to take another look at the preview to see what that's going to look like. So you do a right click, choose preview, and there are the changes that we have made, inserting the logo and that. Now the logo is only there because of the path or the link that we've established. And that means that if you were to move the placement of that logo in your files, then when you open up the invoice, it will give you an error message that it cannot find the logo. So bear in mind that if you ever do make some changes to the path name, you may have to go back and reinsert the logo. All right, looking at all of these things, these are automatic things. That is set to today's date. Over here, we get the due date from the billing segment. Now, some people, they put their billing segments in, let's say for the first of the month, and then they do their billing sometime during the first of the month for the previous month, but they want to then say that the billing, that the due date is 15 days after that or something like that. And the simple way of doing that is just to add that number to that field. So let's take a look at how that would work. Close the preview, and here is the V due date. Now we're going to double click it, and there it is, V due date. That's called an expression, and I'm going to put plus, and I'll put 14. 14 plus the first would equal the 15th of the month. And then I close it. Now let's do a preview and see what happens. The preview is now going to say it's due the 15th of the month instead of the 1st. Now, these are automatically filled in because of the fields. And then down here you see the spot name, spot type, start date, and end date of this contract. So as you see, this is running from October of 2011 to March of 2012. Then you see the contract total, and this is a net figure. Now, if we had gross amounts, like for the agency, then what would appear here would not be net but gross. If we had any portion of the net that would be in trade, then you would see another column that would tell you how much the total of the trade is and all of these same figures. So just the way it is, it tells you the contract total, it tells you how much has been received on this account, tells you what the balance left is, and in this case there has been nothing received, so there's still a full balance. And this is what's been billed to date, counting this billing. And now we look at what's past due. Now, there were a few invoices that occurred before the 1st, so this is probably not a good example because they may well have paid some on that. And then this is what this invoice is, $781. And there's not been any payments to this invoice. That is, they could have sent a check in prior to being billed, and you would apply it to that invoice. And now here is the balance due. So the total due, the balance due, or the bill to date, and the balance due are in agreement. Finally, there is a place for notes, Happy New Year from all the staff, and that goes into an individual invoice or billing segment. Back at the contract screen, you just open that up and click Edit and find whatever invoice you want to add that to. So that's very timely. If you wanted all of your contract invoices to show this statement, then you could either put it down there above or below the note field, or you could put it up here. But you have to remember then before you do the billing the next month to go in and get rid of that or change the slogan to whatever you want it to show. All of these things you can change, you can edit if you like. One of the things that it comes with is it's got the client's name and address down at the bottom, and that's designed to show through a window envelope, and you may have to finagle that a bit to raise or lower that left or right to get it to show like you want. If you don't want the date printed, it's very simple. You click on it and delete it. If you don't want the invoice number showing through the envelope, you may want to raise that up there. And that's easily enough done. For example, date printed. We've got to get out of our viewing here, close the preview, and here are those fields. We'll take a look as we go down. Okay, date printed, and I can move that up if I want it, or I can just delete it. Same with the invoice number, and if we need a little more space, which we often do, then we can drag the bottom of the invoice down. Then we can take, and now notice what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the pointer over on the left side, and I'm going to hold down on the left mouse button and sort of draw a box. I don't have to do the whole thing. But now I've selected every single line, and I can either just drag it down, or another way, if you want a little micro control, just tap on the down arrow, and that brings it down. And again, whether or not it's where you want it remains to be seen through a little test. So take a look at the preview, and there you see how that's going to look. And again, you can make even more changes. Some stations, they don't want the contract total on there, so they just delete it. They don't need received to date or contract balance or bill to date. In fact, they may not need any of those things. They just need a past due and anything that what this invoice is, and any payments, and then showing the balance due. So all that's within your control. And so that's what this looks like. Now, in order to make sure that this does not get overwritten by some software update, the best thing to do is to change the name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say save as, and here it opens up the reports window, and here's all the different names of things. Now I'm going to leave the INV underscore. You only are allowed 8 characters before the dot in order to name your file. So I'm just going to KHCI, and that will be the name of this file. So I'm going to save that. And now it doesn't change up here. See, it says we're still using the original version. That's what we're looking at. But now we have saved that as the other version. So what I'm going to do is close this now and click cancel. Gets me back to the contract screen. I'll close that. Then a very important step is to go to the main menu, down to Setup, and over to Reports. If you haven't looked in here before, why it's good to do that, we have the invoice report right here, which is invoice ORIG, which was what we started with, but we saved all the changes to KHCI. Now here is the cert invoice, so that also is something you'll have to take care of using the same tools and training that we've just covered. So in order to make sure that when you print you get the correct invoice layout, you go over here to Edit, and then it says Change Invoice Reports. And then you go and take a look for, there it is, INV KHCI. So you select that, and now that's showing up right here. And you save it. Close it. So now when we go to the contract, and we're going to take a look at that. That's the same one that we looked at before. Print invoice, and this time instead of modifying it, we've already modified it, we're just going to preview it, and print, and it says which one do you want to print. Well, we'll just go with that one on the first. That's the one that has the Happy New Year message in the billing segment. And click continue, and there's the invoice. That's the way it's going to print, and if you want to go up here you can actually print it. So that's the lesson on modifying a report. You can do that for the log, the affidavit, the contract, the statement, any of those reports that in particular you want to send out to the public, or you want to make it look the way it should. So that's our lesson on that.